Let me just show you. For this image, I'm going to be brushing like this. I'll brush here separately, like this. I'll brush here separately, because this is the highlight. I'll brush it separately like this, according to the shape of the texture, and I'll brush here separately as well, like this, according to the shape of the texture. So just brush like that, and you're going to get an even skin tone. So I'll come back to my mixer brush. I'll turn off my high texture copy, and I'll start brushing. Hello, Tunde here. In this video, I'll be retouching this studio portrait, and also I'll teach you how I was able to change the background of this image. This image was shot in a studio using a 2-light setup, one main light and one fill light. So I shot this image with an ISO of 125, shutter speed of 1/100 per second, and aperture of f4 with a 70mm lens. So this is a raw file, and I'm going to be processing this image with my Capture One. So this is my Capture One interface. The first thing I'll do once I bring my raw file to Capture One, I'll just come to my exposure tab right here, and I'll just scroll all the way down. I'll reduce my highlight like this, and I'll open up my shadows a little bit like this. Then I'll open up my white. So I'm working on my high dynamic range right here on my Capture One. So I'll open up my whites a little bit, then I'll bring down my blacks a little bit to add a little bit of contrast to the image. And for this my levels, I'll just push my levels inside a bit like this, think about 2, and I'll push my highlights inside a bit like this. So let's see our before and after. So this is where we started from, and this is where we are right now. So you can decide to work on the colors of the skin if you want to, and also the colors of on the dress if you want to Capture One. All you have to do is come to your color tab right here, and just come to your color editor and just choose you can come to advanced and use your picker tool to pick any colors you want and just adjust them. But I'm not going to be doing that in Capture. I'm going to be color grading this image in Photoshop. So next thing I'm going to try to crop this image 4:5, because if I'm posting on Instagram, I like cropping my image 4:5. I usually crop my image in Capture One, but for this particular image, I don't want to crop it in Capture One, because if I try to crop it 4:5, it's not going to work. You can see I'm losing some details like on her head, and also if I take it up, I'm losing the legs. So I'm just going to go back, and I'm just going to crop this image in Photoshop. So let me recap what I did in Capture One. So the only thing I did in Capture One, I come to my high dynamic range, I brought out my highlight, and the next thing I did, I opened up my shadows, I opened up my white, and I bring down my blacks. Then for my levels, I push my blacks inside a bit, and I push my whites inside a bit. So that's all I did for Capture One for this image. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to open this image in Photoshop, and also you can use Camera Raw if you don't have this Capture One, or you can also use Lightroom, or you can use any raw processing software out there to process your raw file if you shoot raw file. So now I'm just going to open this image in Photoshop, and to do that, I'll just come here, I'll right click and just click on Edit with Photoshop. So I'm using Photoshop CC 2019. So I'll just click on it, and make sure your format is on TIFF, and just make sure your ICT profile is on Adobe RGB, and you can use 8-bit or 16-bit. You can use 8-bit or 16-bit. Since I'm retouching just this image, I'm going to be using 16-bit. But if I have multiple images to retouch, I'm using 8-bit because my system is not too fast. So if you have a faster system, I advise you use 16-bit. So I'm just going to click on Edit Variant right now, and I'm just going to wait for this image to export in Photoshop. Now that we have our image open in Photoshop, since I did not crop this image in Capture One, so the first thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to crop this image right now in Photoshop. So I'll come to my crop tool, and I'll come to my ratio. I'll click on 4:5 or 8:10. So once I click on it, I'm just going to drag my frame like this and make sure it fits the way I want it on the image. So I want it to fit like this. Once I get my frame right, I'm just going to click on Content Aware and make sure Delete Crop Pixel is checked. So once I click my Content Aware, this part that are showing white on the side, Photoshop is automatically going to fill those white place with the background since I click on Content Aware Fill. So I'm just going to click on OK. So make sure your content aware is checked. So you can see Photoshop has automatically filled those edges for me with the background color. Now the next thing I'm going to do, I'm just going to duplicate this layer by clicking on Ctrl J, or you can just come to your layer, just click and drag it to this new layer icon right here, and it's going to duplicate your layer for you. So next thing I'm going to do, you can see this image is sharp, so I'm just going to run my focus separation and remove the blemishes and just retouch the skin. To run my focus separation action, come to my Beauty Retouching Academy. If you don't have this Retouching Academy, send me an email. I'll be leaving my email in the description below so I can send this Retouching Academy to you so you can practice along. And also I'll be leaving this file in the description below, and also the overlay which I'm going to be using, I'll be leaving it in the description below as well. So just download it and practice along. So I'm using focus separation via Gaussian Blur in my Retouching Academy. So I'll just click on it, and since this image is sharp, I'm going to be using 5 for this image. So I'll click on 5 and click on OK. If this image was not so sharp, I'll be using a higher blur radius of about 7 or 0.5 so that I can retain more skin texture. But since this image is sharp, even if I use 5, I'll still have enough skin texture to work with. So I'll be using 5 for the sake of this tutorial. So if you have an image like this and it's sharp, I prefer you use 5 or you use 6. So I'm just going to click OK. And once I come to my layer tab, you can see my focus separation via Gaussian Blur right here. And inside this folder, I have my high frequency texture copy, I have my high frequency texture, and I have my corrective tones. So this high frequency texture is where all my texture is, while this low frequency and color tone is where all my colors is on the image. So to remove the blemishes, I'm going to be working on this high texture copy, which is this first one right here. So I'll just zoom in, make sure you are on your high texture copy, and I'll pick my close stamp tool. You can use your Healy brush tool if you want, but I prefer using close stamp tool, and I advise you use close stamp tool to remove blemishes. But if you are in a situation where close stamp tool is not working for you, you can use your spot healing brush tool, or you can use your patch tool. That's why Photoshop has different tools that has almost similar functions. So just use any one that works for you. There is no special tools to use, but I advise you use close stamp tool. So I'm just going to zoom in and just sample from a close by area and just paint over the blemishes. Going to sample and just brush over like this, sample and brush over. So that's how I'm going to be removing the whole blemishes for this image. I'll just sample from a close by area and just brush over the blemishes like that. Make sure you increase and decrease your brush size according to the size of the blemishes you want to remove. So if I want to remove a smaller blemishes, I'll just reduce my brush size. If I want to remove a bigger one, I'll just increase my brush size like that. And to increase and decrease your brush size, use the square bracket key on your keyboard. I'm just going to work on the whole blemish of this image, and once I'm done, I'll get back to you guys. Okay guys, I'm done removing the blemishes. So let's see our before and after. These are before and these are after. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to be working on the colors. I'm going to make the colors even using my mixer brush. And to do that, I'll come to this my corrective tool right here with this empty layer right here, this layer above the low frequency and color tone. I'll just click on it. I'll turn off my high texture, which is this one right here. I'll turn it off. Make sure I'm on my corrective tone. I'll pick my mixer brush and make sure you are using a soft round brush. Make sure you're on custom, and make sure you are on clean brush right here. Make sure your brush is on clean brush. Make sure your wet is on 20, your load is on 30, your mix is on 20, and your flow is on 30. So just follow my settings up here and start brushing. And to brush, make sure you brush your highlight separately and your shadow separately. Just brush according to the shape of the model's skin. Let me just show you. For this image, I'm going to be brushing like this. I'll brush here separately like this. I'll brush here separately because this is the highlight. I'll brush it separately like this according to the shape of the texture, and I'll brush here separately as well like this according to the shape of the texture. So just brush like that, and you're going to get an even skin tone. So I'll come back to my mixer brush I'll turn off my hair texture copy and I'll start brushing. So remember to always check your before and after, so you see if you make any mistake, so you can always correct your mistake. And if you feel you make any mistake, just pick your eraser tool and erase it from that place and continue. So I'll be fast about this. I don't want this video to be too long. So as you can see, she's putting on a net transparent shirt, and I know you're wondering if I'm going to brush on the shirt, on the net. Yes, I'm going to brush on the net. So I'm not going to brush on the transparent dress as well. The same thing I did for the skin, I'm going to do it on a transparent dress. We'll finish brushing this image. Let's see before and after. Let me zoom out so you can see. These are before and these are after. You can see how smooth and how even the skin is right now. This is how you do your focus separation using the Retouching Academy, and also this is how you use your mixer brush to make your skin to look even and smooth like this. The next thing I'm going to be doing for this image, I'm going to whiten the eyes and teeth, and after that I'm going to be doing color grading for this image. So I'm not going to be doing contour dodge or bond for this image, because looking at the highlights and the shadows, you can see they are already obvious. The highlight is shining already and the shadows are burning already. So if I just do dodge or bond, it's going to make the image look weird. So I'm just going to skip the dodge or bond part, and next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to whiten the eyes and teeth. And to whiten the eyes and teeth, I already have an action for that. Just in case you don't have the action, all you have to do is come to your vibrance, click on your vibrance, reduce the saturation of your vibrance to about 66 or 62, and then come to your curves adjustment layer, click on your curves adjustment layer, increase your curves level a little bit like this, and next thing you're going to do, come to your photo filter. I'm going to be using Coolie 80 for this image, so just click on Coolie filter, Coolie 80, and reduce your density to about 7 or 6. And after that, I'm just going to group them. Click on photo filter and click on hold shift, click on vibrance to group all of them, or I'll click on photo filter, hold my control, click on curves and click on vibrance, and just click on Ctrl G to group, or Command G if you're using a Mac. So after grouping, I'll create a layer mask. So I'll create a new layer mask. Once I create a new layer mask, I'm going to invert my layer mask by clicking on Ctrl I to invert, or Command I to invert. So once I invert, I'll come to my normal brush tool, make sure I'm on my soft round brush, make sure my flow is on 100, my opacity is on 100, and I'll just zoom into the eyes. Make sure my foreground color is on white. So right now it's on black, so I'll just click on this icon right here to go between black and white. So I'll just click on it to tangle between white and black. Once my foreground color is on white, I'll just start brushing on the eyes like this. And I'll do the same thing for here, and I'll do the same thing for here, and I'll do the same thing for here, and I'll move over to the teeth. I'll start brushing the teeth like this as well. So these are before and these are after. So once I'm done, I'll come to my filter, I'll come to my blur, and I'll come to my Gaussian blur. So I'm just going to blur it with a radius of about 1.5 or 1. I'm just going to use 1.5 for this of this tutorial. And you can see before and after. You can see the teeth is looking all white and all natural. But if you feel it's too much, you can always reduce the opacity. So I feel it's okay like this, but I'm just going to reduce the opacity to about 70 to make it look more natural. So I'll leave it in about 70. So these are before and these are after. So the next thing I'm going to do for this image, I want to make the blues on the eyes pop a little bit. So I'll just come to my level adjustment layer again, bring the brightness up like this, and just invert the mask by clicking on Ctrl I or Command I if you're using a Mac to invert your mask. So once I invert my mask, I'll pick my normal brush tool again and just paint only on the blues in the eyes like this, the catch light in the eyes, which is this white thing right there on the catch light like this. So I'll do the same for this other eyes right here. And let's see before and after. If you feel it's too much, you can always reduce the opacity. So I'll just reduce the opacity to about 70 as well. So let's see our before and after of what we just did. These are before and these are after. So this I'm going to be doing for this image, I'm going to be color grading this image, and also I'm going to be changing the background of this image. So to color grade this image, I'll first of all use my black and white adjustment layer to add contrast to this image. Come to my adjustment layer, I'll click on black and white. I'll change my blend mode to soft light, like this. I'll right click and click on blending option, or I can double click on this place right here, empty layer right here, on this black and white adjustment layer, like this, and it's going to open layer style option for me as well. So I'm just going to remove the effects from the shadows area. I want it to affect only the highlight area. I don't want it to affect all of the shadows areas. The shadows area are already dark, so I want to remove it from the shadows area. And to do that, I'll just hold my alternate and click on this triangle right here to split it. So once I split it into two, I'll just drag one part of it to the highlight side like this. You can see what's happening to the image. If I bring it back, you can see how dark the image is. So once I hold alternate and split it and bring it to this side, you can see what has happened to the image. So I'm just going to click on OK, and let's see our before and after. So these are before and these are after. I've added contrast to this image. So next I'm going to use my selective color to color grade this image. Color grading is optional, so I'm just going to make the natural skin color of this model pop. So to do that, I want to get rid of the magentas on the image because the model is naturally fair and I can see some magentas on the image. So I'll just come to my selective color, because skin tone consists of red and yellows, so I'll be working on my red and yellow sliders. And for the blacks in the reds, I'm just going to remove blacks to -21. And you don't have to follow this step if you are color grading. Just get the idea of how to color grade. You don't have to follow this step. Just look for what you want and work towards it. And for the yellows in the reds, I'm just going to leave it like this. For the magentas, I'm going to remove a little bit of magentas in the reds. And for the cyans, I'm just going to remove a little bit of cyans in the reds like this as well. And I come to my yellows. For my yellows, I'll remove blacks from the yellows. For the cyans, so just move the cyans to this side a bit like this, to +3. +3 is okay. Now see the before and after. See the before and this is the after. So you can see I've bring back the natural color of this model like this, but I feel the neck and the face are different, so I'm not going to bring the face to look more like the neck. So to do that, I'll come to my selective color again. For my yellows, I'll remove cyans for my yellows like this, and I'll add a little bit of magenta like this. And for the yellows in the yellows, I'm just going to remove yellows in the yellows. And for the blacks, I'm just going to remove blacks like this. And for my reds and for the blacks, I'm just going to remove a little bit of blacks like this. And once I'm done, I'm going to invert my layer mask by clicking on Ctrl I to invert, and pick my normal brush tool. Just paint only on the face like this. Just paint only on the face like this, because I'm trying to make the face look more like the neck like this. And you can see it's almost there. These are before and these are after. So now I feel it's too much. I'm just going to reduce the opacity like this. Now you see the neck and the face are even. So these are before. You can see how yellow it is, and now this after. You can see how even it is right now. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to add vibrance to this image. I'll just come to my adjustment layer again. I'll click on vibrance and just add a little bit of vibrance like this. Next thing I'm going to do, I'll come to my hue and saturation layer. Click on my hue and saturation. Come to my reds. I'll just play with the hue of the reds to see if I can get a better color. I think I like it like this. I like it like this. I'll leave it like this. And also for my yellows, I'll play with the hue of my yellows to see what happens. Okay, I'll just leave my hues. I just leave the hue of my yellow to -2. Remember, you don't have to follow this step. This is just a guide to color grade. So if you want to color grade, you know what you want and color grade it the way you want. So I'm just trying to color grade this image the way I want. So I'm just going to group everything I just did like this, and click on Ctrl G to group, and let's see the before and after. So this is the before and this is the after. So I just reduce the opacity if I feel it's too much, like this. So next thing I'm going to add brightness to this image using my curves adjustment layer. So I'll cut my adjustment layer again. I'll click on curves, and I'll just come to my presets right here and bring it to lighter RGB to add brightness to the image. And let's see the before and after. So this is the before and this is the after. If you feel it's too much, you can always reduce the opacity. I'm going to reduce the opacity a bit like this, and I like it like this. Now I'm going to be removing the background from this image. Let me just group everything so we can see our before and after. So this is where we started from, and this is where we are right now. So I'll be doing the part 2 for this video, and in the part 2 I'm going to be showing you how I changed the background of this image, because I don't want this to be too long. That's why I'm breaking this video into 2 parts. So if you enjoyed this video or you learned anything from this video, make sure to hit on that like button so that people can see this video. And if you've not subscribed yet, hit on that subscribe button so that when I post the part 2 of this video on how I change the background of this image, so you can see it and learn from the video as well. I'll see you guys in my next video. Stay creative.